Hello everyone. So we've got some more stuff to do in this one before we move on to the new series, because I did say there were some things we'd do for this one, and I'm gonna honor that. So the first thing we need to set up is dialogue, so we can actually make some of these people start talking to us. So in order to do all this, first thing I want to do is I'm going to go into my player HUD reference, and I'm going to grab a border because we need a place to actually put any dialogue we receive. So I'm going to just put this, I'm going to anchor it to the top, alignment 0.5 on the X, and then I'm going to just drop it down about there probably. Now I'm going to make this on the size X 400, on the size Y 200. Let's see, probably about there would be fine. For the brush color of this border, I'm just going to make it completely invisible. That changes the color, makes the background image see-through, but anything we add to it is affected by this one, so we'll be able to see anything that's added to it. Now I'm going to rename this to be speech holder, and it is a variable. Compile and save that. Now we need a speech bubble. So I'm going to right click and create a widget blueprint, user widget, speech bubble underscore UI. Double click and open that up. There it goes. I got worried for a second. Alright, so over here in the top right, I don't want this to be a fill screen type of thing. I want it to be a certain size, so right click, or not right click, click this drop down, custom on screen. Same size as we just set up, so width 400, height 200. Then we can grab out a canvas panel, drop it here. Alright, now right click that canvas panel, we want to wrap it with a scale box and a size box. I do this to every widget now, just because it'll make it much easier. Width override 400, height override 200. You never know what size screen it's going to be played on, and you don't want to be watching people play your game and then realize, oh no, half the UI isn't visible. Alright, so what we want here is I'm going to add an image that I anchor to the full thing, offsets back to 0, color and opacity, I'm going to make it black. You could design this however any way you like. What happened? Oh, offset bottom, I missed that one. You can make it look however you like. I'm just going to kind of speed through this real quick because this isn't the important part. This is just decorative touches, so however you like yours. So, oh, but one thing, for the name, this is going to be a name holder, so you do want it to be a border and not an image. So, alignment 1 on the Y. Move it up just a little bit. Back to the left. I'm going to position it up just a little bit. Now for the brush color, I'm going to make this one black. And I'm going to add a text block to it. The reason I use the border is because you can click that border and then hit size to content and it'll automatically fit. No matter how big the character's name is that's talking to you, it'll fit right there. For the font size though, I'm going to make it 15 and italic. Now this text block is going to be the name of the person speaking, so I'm going to make it called name. And it is a variable. This image, not a variable. Now let's add a scroll box to our canvas panel and anchor it to the full screen. This way, if they have a lot that they're saying, you can scroll with the wheel and be able to see it all. Then we will add a text block. Now for the horizontal and vertical alignment, you're going to leave that to fill both sides, and then you can adjust the text justification here. So if you want it lined up in the middle, you just do it like that, left and right. I'm going to do it in the middle like this. I'm going to make this bold italic, light, and I'm going to just do light. Make it a little bit smaller. Now, there is one thing we want to do down here, auto wrap text. We want it to auto wrap. Now, in order to find out how you want it to look, just type a bunch of random stuff. You want to make sure you're hitting that space bar, because if it's one continuous word, it could, but there are no words like they would be long enough really to do it, I don't think. So, but then you can see, like, if I turn that off, it's all off screen, but auto wrap makes it do that. And then you can customize it, so if you all want it all in a line, just like that, or you can adjust it down to however you like. Generally the auto wrap automatically seems to work. Oops. So that'll be fine. Now I'm gonna get rid of that. Alright, so this text block in the box is our actual dialog. So I'm gonna call that dialog is a variable. So name, I'm gonna rename this to name for now. So that's called name, that's called dialog, they're both variable. Alright, let's go into the graph. So get rid of pre-construct and that. Grab out our name and our dialog. So from the name we're going to set the text. Oops, right there. And we're going to move this up because we're also going to set the text of that one. So on the name text, I'm going to right click and promote that to a variable called speaker. Now this will be instance editable and expose on spawn, so as soon as we create this widget we can feed in this information. And we're going to do the same thing over here for the speech bubble. Instance editable, expose on spawn. Just like that. Alright, so now let's create the actual dialog component. So I'm going to right click, create a blueprint class of an actor component called dialog underscore C. So this is something cool because you can add it to anything you wanted to and it'll have all the same functionality instead of having to copy and paste code. So we'll get rid of that. We're going to create a custom event called speak. Now we need a few variables in this, so there's going to be our dialogue, the actual speech that they'll say. This will be a text array. Bam. Then we need a name for the character, which is also a text but is a singular. And then we need a current speech. That's not how you spell speech. Current speech. Basically this is going to be an integer to pick which piece of that array we're on right now. So when with character speaks, we want to get our dialog component, get the current speech. So we're going to get a copy of the dialog at our current speech integer, and we will create a widget. The widget that we're going to create is that speech bubble UI we just made, and then the speech goes here and the name goes here. Now there's one thing we're going to need also. We're going to need a new variable that is a player reference. This will be a reference to your actual player character. So we'll get that object reference. Then we will get that player reference. We want to get the HUD reference. We want to get that speech holder. And we want to add child to the panel. Just like that. I'm going to move this back. Nudge it over. Too far back. Alright, so after we've spoken, then we want to increment the current speech on, so that when next time we fire this through, it gets the next one. So we will increment that. An increment just bumps it up by 1. Now we want to make sure that it's not going too high, so we will see if it's greater than or equal to the length of our dialogue. So we'll grab this length, hook it up just like that, add a branch, plug that in, and if it is greater than or equal to the length of it, that means it's at the end of it, and we want to set it back to 0. So we'll set to 0, and if it's not, then we don't really need to do anything to it. We'll just add a retriggerable delay that we plug both sides of this into. I'm going to set that for about 3 seconds. You want a retriggerable delay and not a regular delay, because retriggerable delay, if you fire this off multiple times because you're talking to somebody and you see the next one, it'll reset the timer so it's not removed from screen. So let's drag this down just a little bit. So after we do that, we want to remove clear children. Just like that. Alright, so now let's create something to actually talk to. Well, you can put it on anything. I'm going to use this guy. Come here, buddy. There you are. Alright, I'm going to set you right here. So we will need to do some alterations to him because of the way we did our interaction. We're going to have to add our interact BPI to him. So we'll get our interact blueprint interface, add it to our training dummy, and on event interact, we need to add our dialog component here. So over in the top left, components, let's get our dialog component we set up and add it to him. So now you'll see over here we got our dialogue name, current speech, all that jazz. So okay, so on event interact, we'll get our player reference, right click, convert it to a validated get, see if it's a valid reference. If it's not, then we cast to our player blueprint, get player character, and set it. The reason we need to do that is because right here we need to set our player reference in our dialog component. To our player reference. So if it is valid, we could just use our reference, but if it's not valid, then we'll set it and then we can use that reference. So plug that in right there. In the next series, I will show you all much more optimized ways of doing all of this. The reason I have to do it this way is because this is the way we started the series, but I've learned quite a bit since then, and I can show you all so many different ways of optimizing. These are decent ways of doing it. It served me well for years, but there is much easier ways. But we'll go over that in the next series. Let's continue on. So now we need to actually add this dummy to our interactables in range. So on component begin overlap of the capsule component and end overlap. From the other actor, we will cast to the player blueprint, because if it is, the player, then we want to get interactables in range and add a unique instance. So add unique self. So on end overlap, we'll Control C, Control V. Oops. I say oops a lot, don't I? Plug that in right there. We want to see if this contains item of self on end overlap. And if it does, then we remove item. And the item we remove is that reference to self. So yeah, this is multiple casts just in one blueprint. It's not ideal, but it works. But we'll make the probably helps if I jump in and actually tell the dummy to say something. So for the dialogue, he'll say, "Hey there. Wish you'd stop hitting me. But I understand. Get them gains. And your name is Dummy Man. All a part of the dummy plan. So save all. Save. So let's jump in, have a little chat with this man. You ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing. Oh. It's because all I'm doing up here is setting. I didn't actually call the speak. So don't forget to grab out your dialog component and actually call that speak function. Otherwise it'll just stand there looking at you like a crazy person. Hey there. Wish you'd stop hitting me. Wish you'd stop hitting me. Oh. It didn't go to the next one when I hit the button, but that's because we need to go into our dialog widget. Move our speech holder way back, because we need to see if the event is called, if it has any children. We'll add a branch right here to the front. I'll just move this way back here. Oh, that's gonna be ugly. Can't do it, gotta rearrange. There we go. So let's grab this, move this back like that, grab that, move it back. Now we'll move it all back a little bit. So if it does have any children, that means we've already spoken to this thing. We need to clear any children out of it before we try to add more. So if true, we clear the children. And then we create our widget. And then if not, then we just do that. So now I can talk to him, says some stuff, after a few seconds it goes off screen. And then you can add this to anybody, so just like, let's add it to the shopkeeper real quick, just to show you how easily you can add this to people now. So on dialogue, let's see, what you looking to get, question mark. And her name, let's make this family friendly. Yeah, I'm just gonna name her Sarah. I like the name Sarah. And then what we can do is in her event graph, when we're doing the show shop, which I think is her event interact, right? Actually, let's just do it on the menu open. I don't want it to be on the closed side also. Let's get our dialog component. Set the player reference. that, and then call that speak function. What you looking to get? I don't know, let me have a look at your wares. Yeah, and then we close it, doesn't say anything. There you go. So you can do this, you can add signs, you can add all kinds of stuff. It's pretty fun, pretty good thing. Alright, so in the next one we'll start looking at treasure chests, and then we're going to work on a few other things before we get started on the next series. So I will see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.